This right here might be one of the most culturally significant reviews I have done in quite some time. Because after so many years, let me do a little bit of math. I think about 16 years, 15, 16 years, Transformers Star Wars crossovers has made a return. There is a full-on return with this release. Now, I'm not sure if they're going to do any more, but this is a new Star Wars Transformers crossover figure released domestically. I have to point that out because there was a Takara Millennium Falcon a little bit ago. This is the first domestic Star Wars Transformers crossover in well over a decade. And it is none other than Din Djarin, the Mandalorian, in his Naboo N-1 Starfighter that has been outfitted, retrofitted, modified to serve his needs. And yeah, this figure is really, really great. I did an unboxing of this in a live stream if you want to check that out. It was a ton of fun. Unboxed it, got to learn all the little facets and nuances of this toy because there is a lot to learn with this one. And yeah, it's incredible. It's a great, great figure. I am very, very happy with this one. It's so well done, so well executed. It's very, very worthy of a purchase, if you ask me. Now, I did get this on a pretty great sale. Walmart.com, for some reason, has been doing some pretty heavy discounts recently. And I got this on pre-order for half off, like $26. And I thought it was a pre-order. I forgot when this guy was going to ship, and I literally got tracking for it immediately, which was awesome and great, if you ask me. Also, to get free shipping, I ordered the Black Series Mando, because I've never had this one. I figured it'd be kind of nice for him to exist as a comparison figure in my collection. So I will compare it with this as well. But I also got to compare this guy with an original Transformers crossover figure, because we have to see, does he fit in? Does he continue the legacy of the original Transformers crossovers? We'll find out. All right, first, let's look at the box, because it's pretty cool. Really nice design, really nice look. Pretty, in theming of these Star Wars Transformers crossovers. Well, all of these Transformers collab toys, it's pretty much in the same vein. Nice picture of the figure right there, stuff on the side. The back shows off the many, many accessories. His simulated jetpack, his little pistol, his rifle, his shield. You can have him with a cape. It doesn't show off something else, though, that I actually kind of struggled to figure out on my own. But thankfully, the chat in my live stream was able to help. All right, that's the box. We're done with the box forever. Goodbye, box. All right, this is our Mando N-1 Starfighter. I have it with all of the effect parts on. What you see here is absolutely everything that you get in the package. And one of my first thoughts was, where's Grogu? Where's Grogu? Because you have his canopy that can open and can fit a figure, but there's nothing in there. There's no Grogu. I don't know if they cut it out. Like, there's even a little hole in there where, like, I feel like a Grogu figure is supposed to plug in, but there is no Grogu. You do not get one. And I think for some people, that's going to be a pretty big issue because it's the N-1 Starfighter. It's Din Djarin. And you'll see further on that it's an even bigger deal that you don't get Grogu. So I do have a couple Grogus here to see if they will fit. First, let's start off with the Lego one, because I'm sure that's the one that most of you will probably have. More so than the Hasbro one. If you're just a general like toy enthusiast, this has been released and put out a million different times. So one thing with the Lego one, his ears are a little too long to like comfortably just go in there. Like we can set him in there, and then his ears are just a little too long, and they're going to pinch. So seriously, one of the easiest ways to put him in there. First, you wedge his ears in the top dome, and then you kind of close them in real fast. And there we go. There's our Lego Grogu inside Din Djarin's N1. And that works. That works, if you ask me. Definitely a little stylized. You know, it's a Lego figure. It's not an actual Grogu. And also, it does look a little big. But it is nice to have a Grogu in there, if you ask me. It is nice that you can put one in there. But of course, since this is a Hasbro product, we have to put a Hasbro Grogu in there. And here's a pretty standard, pretty typical vintage collection style Grogu. I've got so many of these. I'll dig one out at some point to permanently put in here, because I think the TVC one fits perfect. He looks great in there. He fits perfect. I feel like that was probably the intent, but they probably were not allowed to put just a little Star Wars figure in this, since it's not a, it doesn't transform or anything. What's Grogu going to transform into? So that's probably why. Might have been like a rights issue, where it's like, oh, only the Hasbro Star Wars team can make Hasbro Star Wars figures that aren't Transformers, and it was just a whole legal thing. But I'm going to keep that little Grogu in there, especially when we transform it, because that dome becomes a very important aspect. But yeah, we can see this looks incredible and awesome. It's got tons of effect parts. It's got all these little thrusters and everything. You can put them there. You've got these little thruster tips right here. Oddly enough, the actual thruster of the N-1 you can't put an effect in. It just doesn't work. It's gonna like start peeling everything up. It's not gonna work. We do have a display base, which is really cool. The display base looks awesome. It has the mud horn on there. It has a really nice neck. You can actually, move it around. It's a really nice base, and I love that you get the base. And the base actually has practical purposes in the robot mode, which is incredible. We do have several blast effects. We have a large one, we have 2 mediums, and we have a small. You can see how I kind of distributed it, just to kind of give some variety, because it would look a little weird if both of these were straight and then one was huge and one was tiny, so I figured spreading the love this way would be what makes the most sense. Yeah, very swooshable. Very nice. Let's take all these effects off so we can see what it looks like without them, because I'm sure some of you would like to see that. Come on out. There we go. Yeah, the effects look nice, and I think even without them, the N1 looks very, very nice. You can see that is some, dark red detailing for the robot mode, but honestly, other than that, you can't really see much robot here. You can see the elbows if you're looking hard enough. Those are very clearly elbow joints. But yeah, there's not a lot of robot to see, because like the feet or the thruster back here, it's pretty clever. Doesn't look like I tabbed that in all the way. There we go. My bad. I'm sorry. I'm the worst reviewer ever of all time. I love all the surface detailing. So much little gunmetal silver, some nice yellow. There's a lot of nice little detail just sprinkled all throughout the sky. There's a lot of nice little detail for sure. For sure. This is a quality figure, dude. This is a quality figure. Feels great, articulates great, transforms great, which we're about to do that. All right, let's get this transformed. So to prep, let's take the display base. We will have this separate, and then we're going to peel this open and remove this stem right here. We're going to remove the stem. And for now, we're going to put the stem back on the display base. For now, that's what we're going to do. All right, so what's next? Let us remove some accessories from the N1. So there is some slight parts forming to this, mostly just accessory-wise, because this tail back here is going to flip and become a rifle, because Din Djarin has a rifle, and that's going to become his rifle. We can take an effect part, put it in there. Woohoo, looks great. That's his rifle. This is going to come off, and it goes nowhere on the bot mode. And at first I was very, very disappointed. I'm like, where is this going to go? Like, what's going to happen with this? And then I realized it's the hover pram. We can take one of these effect parts, put it there, plug it in. We have a hover pram that goes with this. And it makes it even worse that this little Grogu in here is not included, because we have a hover pram and no figure in there. Like, what the heck? So, if you really want this, I highly suggest going out of your way to get a vintage collection Grogu. I think that is the one that fits the best. You don't have to worry about the ears or anything like the Lego one. It's still a Hasbro product, so it fits in aesthetically. I would get the Hasbro Grogu. You can also rotate it this way if you want. But yeah, that looks really, really cool. I love that. So that's Grogu's little deal out of the way. And then now we need to turn this into Din Djarin. All right, you're going to have to forgive me, because the order of operations here, I'm not the most superb when it comes to giving you a nice, clean order of operations with Transformers videos. I literally just go at it. But the arms are pretty easy. We'll remove these little clasps right here, and then we'll open these panels, flip out his little fists, and that's pretty much the arms. One thing that is kind of a little disappointing to me is that these are going to be the front of the arms, and he very clearly has screw holes right there, which kind of stinks, but it's not that big of a deal. Trust me, it's not that big of a deal. All right. These panels are going to move inward like that, and then this whole thing is going to separate like that. And then let's get his legs done. So his legs, we're going to split, and then this whole panel dealy is going to flip out of our way so we can extend the legs, because the legs do a little classic extendy flippy action like many Transformers of old. Get those straightened up. Come on. Just like that. And then we're going to take this panel, we're going to straighten it, fold it down, flip the foot. Oh, heck yeah. Fills in some of the leg gappage and gives us some very cool looking robot feet with the thrusters. And one cool thing I love about these kind of feet too, you can have them flipped down and it looks like, you know, he can still thrust around. I always love how that looks. We do have a little pistol in a holster right there, which is very nice. All right, but let's keep it moving. Let's keep it moving. So what's next? I believe these little winglets, we're going to move, detach them right there, flip them around to the back. Yeah, there we go. Because this is actually going to become his backpack. That's going to be his jetpack back there. We can rotate the waist here soon. Yeah, close up the jetpack. And then these are actually going to flip in. And one cool thing about the jetpack is that it uses these right here. You can actually take the thruster parts. I didn't realize this until I looked on the back of the box a little bit closer. You can actually give him thrusters on his jetpack, which is very, very cool. All right, so there's his head sculpt, looking very, very cool, very Mandalorian-y, very Din Djarin. All right, then as we move this up, we're going to want to rotate this thingy mabob. Oh wait, first we want to get this thingy out. This little gap filler. Rotate this thingy-bob. Close up his chest a little bit. There we go. And one of the last things we need to do, put the arms up, make sure they're fully pushed in. Didn't really do that in my live stream. All right. Then we can just rotate the waist. And that's pretty much it. That is our Din Djarin Mandalorian Transformer in his Bounty Hunter robot mode. I love this so much. I love this figure so, so much. It's so good. It's so good. Here, let's get a little close, because the details on this are insane. Look at this helmet, dude. Not only does that look like the Mando, that looks like Din Djarin, but it just has so much little robot-y detail and sculpt and paint, and it sells it. You know, it sells that this is a robot. Now, I do wish that his visor was blue to kind of give him more of that Transformers robot aesthetic, because obviously visors and everything are usually always blue or some other color, not just, you know, black or gunmetal. But hey, it keeps the Star Wars look authentic, so I understand the decision. A lot of the vehicle mode parts do continue onto the robot. We do have these added little details on the wrists, which look very nice. I love how the hands still have the triangle. Love that so much. On the legs, we do have a new little pistol right here, which is exposed, a little holster. These legs look amazing and awesome. We even have the little things right there, which is so cool. Oh, dude, they did a great job designing this bot. They did a great, great job. And I feel like they did a great job executing the figure as well. I mean, this is pretty much the only kibble, and it basically just gives him Buzz Lightyear wings, which I'm not going to complain. Buzz is cool. This looks cool. Let's arm him up a little bit. Let's get some accessories going. So we do have his rifle right here. We can go ahead and let's give him the big blast effect. We can go ahead and put that either in his hand or on his arm. I think the arm looks cool, kind of like a Megatron fusion cannon of sorts. You know, that does look very, very cool. I do appreciate that. I'd actually keep it like that. You know, just a little Meg's fusion cannon. We do have this little pistol as well. We can actually use almost all of the parts for the bot mode as well. Let's go ahead and put this tiny little pistol in this hand. We can use the tiny little blast for that. Oop! If it doesn't pop out. Tiny little blast. They had to make the peg super shallow and super tiny so it could actually fit with the transformation. So there's those accessories. We do have these thrusters back here, We can go ahead and put these back there, looking very nice. And then this is sweet. This becomes his cape. Look at that. That looks sick. That looks so cool. That's his cape. Oh my gosh. Pretty much the only accessory I really can't find a proper solid use for is this blast effect. Maybe you could like try to put it on this. Maybe, possibly. Maybe you could put it on this tip. I don't know how well that would work. I guess that works. It looks huge, but I guess it works. And that's all of the accessories used for the robot mode, which is awesome. I love that. Now, there is one alternate use for one of these accessories that I absolutely love, and it kills me that I don't think I'm going to be able to really pull it off, but I have a method. I have a way. So to begin, let's move this rifle into his hand, because we're going to need that port to be accessible. And one thing, the hand and the arm can hold up this big fat accessory, but the hinge built into the gun really cannot. So, yeah, I don't know if I'm going to use that big blast effect all the time, but hey, I do appreciate that you can essentially have everything right here on the figure, you know. I do appreciate that, at least to some extent. All right, so this Grogu little fly-me-do, this base with the super awesome Mudhorn logo and everything can become his Mandalorian shield. Yes. You know how the Mandos have those clear circular shields? He has a massive one with a Mudhorn on it. Oh my god, I love how that looks. I love, love, love it. But that leaves this with nothing to stand on. Nothing. Except Daddy. He can still attach to his paw. Let's go ahead and move this hinge. Oh, there he goes. Bye. So we can hinge that, plug this back in right here, and he can still be... Here, let's move him a little bit so he's actually, you know, looking straight. He can attach to, like, the arm of his dad. And yeah, it's a little ridiculous. It's a little ridiculous, but it works. And literally everything he comes with is on the figure. It's a little extreme. I'm sure some people aren't going to want to use every single effect part, but I know for me, I need to have this as his shield. I need it. And I love the cape. I think the only thing I'm really iffy on is this massive effect part. These are really heavy. Like, I don't know if you heard that. These are heavy. So I might omit that one and just put that there. One thing, too, if you don't want this massive effect piece for the Grogu Pram, you don't have to. You can actually just attach it like that. So you do have an option there. And honestly, I think that looks a little better, because this hover pram with this massive thrust effect is a little extreme, if you ask me. All right, before I wrap it up, we got to do some comparisons. First of all, perfect that I got the Black Series Mando right alongside this guy, so we can actually see how it looks next to a Black Series Din Djarin. And yeah, that looks pretty nice. I am kind of missing the silver on the Transformer. I kind of wish he had some more silver paint instead of just being gray plastic with some gunmetal accents. But you know what? It still looks great. It still is very awesome. It is one of my absolute favorite figures of The Mandalorian. It's not my absolute favorite because I do own the Hot Toys one, so kind of hard to beat that. But this is, I think, my new favorite Transformers Star Wars crossover. And of course, talking about the crossovers, we have to see how he looks with the OGs. Here's my favorite OG crossover, the Magna Guard. And he fits perfectly. He fits perfectly into the original crossover line. If you're a collector of the OG crossovers, number one, let me know if yours are discoloring like almost all of mine are. But number two, get this Din Djarin, get this Mando. He fits perfect. He literally fits in with them. It's awesome. It's fantastic. I love it. And if you're wondering his scale alongside Transformers, you can see next to Studio Series TF1 Optimus. He's more like a Voyager size. Size-wise, he's a Voyager, but accessory-wise and everything, that definitely pushes him over the Voyager edge. How does our boy articulate? That's a good question. So he articulates pretty well. He has a nice little ball joint on his head. You do get a little bit of wiggle-waggle, but obviously it's going to move side to side. His shoulders are a little cumbersome with his big old things. Let's just remove that gun. Because they're going to bump into his head, which is very funny. But you can kind of move them out of the way. You know, they're not always going to be in the way of his head. But as you can see, for some poses, they kind of are. He's got a bicep. He's got an elbow. He has a ball joint at the wrist, but functionally it just works as a swivel. He also has a swivel at the waist, which is a little loose on my copy. A little loose, but nothing too major. He has universals at the hips, which work very well. Thigh swivel, and functionally, he is intended to have a single-jointed knee, but with his transformation, he gets a double joint. And I think both the joints are stiff enough and everything. They both work in tandem very well together. But the bottom one does kind of like slot in. You know, you can see this is the transformation hinge. That is the actual knee bend. So just keep that in mind when you're posing him. Then his ankles, got a little bit of tilt. Then they can move down, obviously, for transformation. So articulation-wise, this Din Djarin is, he's got it going on. He's pretty solid. I'll say one of my biggest issues are these things that are kind of going to sword fight over his head, depending on the pose you're doing. Can he hold the Black Series Darksaber? He kind of can. Oh, dude, he should have came with a Darksaber. That looks sick. Ugh. Alrighty, guys, there we go. There's my look at the triumphant return of Star Wars Transformers crossovers. The original toy line was the most mixed bag that has ever existed in the history of mixed bags. And honestly, the bag wasn't mixed that well. It was mostly not good. But I have a very big soft spot for that line. As a big Star Wars and Transformers fan, that toy line was literally my two loves combined. So I loved it. And the fact that it has come back, at least for this one release, is fantastic. And this is a fantastic release. It is by far the best Star Wars Transformers crossover. It is not perfect, however. There are just a few little issues. My main issues, I really wish the Grogu Pram could exist without sacrificing the shield, because the shield is just that badass. He really struggles to hold that really tiny little pistol. The shoulders are a little cumbersome, you know, with the sword fight over his head. But I think the biggest issue, for sure, is the fact that it does not come with a Grogu. You literally have a Grogu spot in the vehicle mode and a Grogu hover pram for the robot mode, and no Grogu. Like, what? Huh? Now, granted, if you're a collector like me that has, you know, about half a dozen vintage collection Grogus, you're set, you're fine, you don't have to worry about it. But if you're just a Transformers collector that doesn't have any other Star Wars stuff, you're SOL. You don't have a Grogu. You'll have to go out and buy a separate Grogu, which is pretty annoying. But I do appreciate that Hasbro did at least make it compatible with their own 3 3/4 inch Grogu. I do appreciate that. But, you know, the Lego one does work too. If you have the Lego Grogu, I'm sure more of you have the Lego one than the Hasbro one, because the Lego one's been released a million different times. At least the Lego one does work. But for me, I've got to have a Grogu in that hover pram at all times. It just looks weird without it. And, you know, it's what it is. I'm sure there is legal issues with it. But hey, for what you get, I think I would have been happy spending the $50 on this. I think I would have. Now, granted, I got it for a great deal. I got it for an amazing deal. It makes me even happier with my purchase. But hey, if this is something that you see out in stores for the $50, maybe if you got a little coupon ski or something, got a little coupon ski, I think this is worth the pickup for a Transformers fan and for Star Wars fans. This is awesome. This is an awesome toy. Highly recommend it. This figure can potentially be on my top 10 Transformers of 2025. It's that good. This guy might make the list. We'll just have to wait and see. We are just midway through February. We got some time. We'll see how it goes. Alrighty, guys. Thank you very much for watching. Let me know what you think about this figure down in the comments below. I think it's a super awesome one. One that I definitely think you all should pick up. Special shout out to channel members, as always. Thank you all so much for your continued support. Have a great one, guys, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.